And then Rick Hughes.
I don't know this is what they handed me. Oh, I used to be Adrian apparently. I guess if I want to duck out and become incognito, I just flip it over and become it.
It's funny. It's funny.
I should fold it backwards. See how long it takes people to notice.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Steve, Justin Paulsen.
First thing I always say,
Yeah, you too.
about that job. The second thing I always say
Thank you
about
for the technical message.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think it's good.
Yeah.
What
What do we get?
it was always a competition.
You get the community satisfaction if things
Trying
go.
not to,
If you can make some changes and get something
cause
caught.
any with any.
So anyway, thanks for stepping up. Hopefully we'll hear some different.
Yeah. I hope they're not just the same. But I don't know. It's like a lot of these people who should be
Well, it's the people that
She was just offering assistance.
Does that mean you don't want me to start singing? No, trust me, you don't want me to start singing.
No, I appreciate that. That's why I appreciate you.
Hello. Hello. That's pretty good. Hello. Hello. Oh, this thing.
Hello. As we're going to start in a few minutes. As we get ready to start in a few minutes, I want to remind everyone that we are taking questions from the floor, but we're taking them in writing. There are cards on the back table and pencils. If you have a question, please write it down, and you can hold it up in the air, and somebody will collect it and bring it up here. And you can also take a pencil and some cards to your seat, so if a question occurs to you while things are going on, you can write it at your seat, and again, you can stay in your seat and hold the card up in the air to be collected. So we encourage people to submit questions. Thank you.
Or if it did. I'll mention it. I'll mention it.
Mine's not a jacket.
Hi, Rick Hughes. Wanted to say thanks for coming, and you're not doing the Seahawks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we just learned about that on the way here.
I know, right?
We almost turned around.
I wouldn't blame you. I almost turned around, you know? Downriggers had it going on the thing,
I'm a
and
Niner.
Did you take your boat on?
I did. I came in this morning.
Great day.
Yeah, I know it's great. And the Rotary, I'm a former Rotary president here in San Juan, and we've got a big fundraiser event tonight where they're talking about the Tesla, the original Tesla car. So I had all the alcohol for the fundraiser. So I was shuttling over all the stuff for Marcus. And anytime in the water's fun, so.
Well, my brother lives in Mexico.
Not so much.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, Friday I went out to Waldron, and it was
Seems like
rough,
everybody's got a
rough.
lot of
Yeah.
stuff to remember.
But we made it back.
We do some time. We go a lot of time
And
in Central
Central.
America. Man, they're plastic cars.
Thanks for always checking. So appreciate it.
So
I've been
much.
in China.
Just alongside the road.
Been there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've had it too, so sorry. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely better.
See, it won't be a
See what
Seahawks
Steve did
crowd.
for me? He hand painted a Go Rick advertisement on the side of his. I like it made me cry when I did it. Like, that's so cool. But like I like to sit in the corner there, right in front of King, you know, and the one thing kind of facing like the second or third. And I was just sitting there and I look and I go,
No,
hey, that's my name. Hey, it's not bad.
It's not disparaging.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, he's not charging for any of the small high-level forums.
with more than one.
Yeah.
So I was only there by myself.
Yeah. You both already did Decatur, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's quite a few people.
Was there? Yeah, I think we all just got an email from them just a bit ago about the emergency services. The Decatur 911, yeah, that's hard. You don't have staff.
Still blows me away.
All right, so,
The look on my face, I was like, hey, look, that's my name. Hey, it's not bad.
yeah, the Washington Museum of Political Health wants it.
Seriously? I was like, wow. I'll take that.
Okay. Okay. Let's begin. Welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum for the San Juan County Council, Districts 1 and 2 candidates. I'm Barbara Sharp. I'm Vice President of the Board of the League of Women Voters of the San Juans. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to the candidates for taking the time to come this evening, particularly for our Arcus people to brave the waters to get here. Our league has sponsored candidate forums for over 30 years in order to provide informed and active participation for islanders in government. As an organization, the league is nonpartisan. It does not endorse or oppose candidates for public office. Also, the league is a strong proponent of civil discourse in our proceedings. Civil discourse means, at a minimum, mutually respectful, courteous, constructive, and orderly communications. If you are interested in joining the league, there's envelopes on your chair, and also you can use that envelope to make donations. We do rely on donations in order to fund these forums, to pay for all the expenses that we have to rent the venues and such. There's question. If any of you have questions, we will be taking questions from the floor, but they must be in writing. There's cards at the back table with pencils, and someone from the league will be walking around collecting them. Today, Nisha Quast will be our forum moderator this evening, and special thanks goes to Jeff Nodell of San Juan's Today, formerly known as CNL2, for live streaming the event. And now I'll turn this over to Nisha. So thank you, Barbara, and thank you everyone for coming. I'm a last-minute substitute for Steve Bowman, who is normally our moderator and who was planning to do this evening, but he was unable to do it, and so I've stepped in. I have not done this before. This is my first time, so be gentle with me, people. First of all, please turn off all electronic devices. Which reminds me, I need to mute the sound on mine. Tonight's forum presents all 4 candidates for the county commissioner seats in District 1 and 2. The candidates are Justin Paulsen and Rick Hughes, and Stephanie O'Day and Kari McVeigh. This nonpartisan elected positions are for 4 years. Ballots will be mailed to all registered voters on the 16th of this month. Our format this evening requires careful monitoring of time, and to achieve this, we use a timer and cards to alert speakers when to begin and when they have 1 minute remaining and 30 seconds remaining and when to stop. Our timer tonight is Robbie Lawson, and she will ensure that all speakers have equal time for comments. Thank you, Robbie. The League of Women Voters expects and requires civil discourse throughout our forums, and all speakers and audience members are expected to comply. Any applause should be held until the end of the program. Our format for this evening will be that each candidate will have 3 minutes to present their candidate statement. We will then move to the Q&A section, with each candidate having 2 minutes to answer each question. If the question is directed at one candidate, that candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question, and the other candidates will have 1 minute to respond. We will spend approximately 60 minutes on the Q&A, and then we will conclude with each candidate having 2 minutes to give a closing statement. We're fortunate tonight to have Jeff Nodal and Jeremy from San Juan's Today, also known as CNL2, live streaming the forum. You can review the forum at sanjuanstoday.com and consider supporting this service in our community. Please note that the League of Women Voters does not endorse any specific candidate. We're holding the forum so that you, the voter, can hear from the candidates and will be well informed on how to vote. So, now we will begin with Rick Hughes, and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Is that better? All right. Hi, my name is Rick Hughes. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for always being here for candidates. I think this is like my 6th or 7th session with you all, so I appreciate that. Thank you to Jeff and Jeremy. Having live media and supporting local media here is super important in our community. My name is Rick Hughes. I wanted to thank all of you. I think I had 500 plus extra votes on San Juan Island, so I really appreciate the support from the community. A lot of folks here look very familiar, so thank you very much. I served as San Juan County Council member from 2013 to 2020, was chair 3 times, was chair during the pandemic when we were the safest county in the state of Washington, one of the safest in the entire country. So I appreciate your support. My wife and I also operate Ray's Pharmacy in East Sound, Washington, and Island Life on Orcas, which is an outdoor shop. We've been doing that for about 20 years. During the pandemic in 21, my wife and I helped administer over 8,000 shots on Orcas, and we were the only, when the county wasn't able to make it to Orcas for ring testing for the pandemic, it was me out in the spacesuit in the parking lot. Just sort of, helping folks out, and that's kind of what we do. And a lot of folks have asked me, why am I coming back to run? And the biggest thing is service. My family has been, and I'm a Rotarian here, was the president of the Rotary Club on San Juan 2 years ago. Service amongst self is one of the biggest things that's reached out in my family. My grandfather was a city council member in Bellingham, and it's been in our family to serve. I've probably served on, I can't tell you how many boards in Orcas and in the county. I've been endorsed by Planned Parenthood of Washington and Northern Idaho and the Washington Conservation Action Alliance. I'm also endorsed by Secretary of State Hobbs, DNR Chair Hillary Franz, Ramel, Lovelit, Rick Larson, the whole crew in the Northwest. Almost every Democrat that is that's in office I've been supported and worked with. And a lot of folks have been asking me, they can't wait for me to come back because we were able to negotiate and help make San Juan County in the past one of the best counties. One of our wonderful elected officials here had just won a great award for representing Waco in the legislative process. And we just have a really great county. And one of the things I promise to do is to make this county the best county again in the future, and to make San Juan County boring again. And we need to get back to stuff where the community trusts the county. And I'm going to stop right now.
That's a fun lead for everybody.
I'm going to apologize right off the start. I messed up my back this week, so I'm a little tentative and sitting and standing all at the same time. I'm Kari McVeigh, and I'm running for County Council, District 1. Like many people probably in this room, I'm an Islander who's been here not for 30 years, not for generations, but a little over 8 years. And I came here because it's such a beautiful place. And what I learned early on after I got here is that the community draws you in. It asks you to serve. It expects you to be a community member in all the wonderful ways that community is formed. And to that end, I have been a public servant since I was 20 when I got my first credential. And when I moved here, after a short time of working with a lot of not-for-profits, I went back into public service, public administration, and was the superintendent of San Juan Island School District. Got us through the beginning phases of the pandemic, and that wasn't fun, but we were prepared. Currently, I'm the part-time superintendent on Shaw Island School District, and as that superintendent, we're in the process of building teacher housing. I have over 30 years experience as a public administrator. I balanced budgets of $100 million, very similar to the budgets that we find in the county. I have consistently engaged in engagement strategies that allow people to feel seen, heard, and understood. I've created collaborative partnerships at the regional, local, state, and even national levels that have produced really fine things for the organizations for which I served. And I've always advocated a transparent and inclusive decision-making process, and it's created a lot of wonderful results. You know, county council members are senior executive and policy makers for the county. And it's an important role that if you're to be successful, you must have strong leadership skills. My decades-long experience in public administration demonstrates my leadership skills in meeting facilitation, conflict resolution, decision-making, and building operative teams. I will take all this experience, this stamina, this grit, this know-how, in my job of working with the other council members, if I'm elected, to balance our budgets based on priorities and beliefs, to increase our inventory of permanently affordable homes, to ensure that we have a balance of development with conservation, such that the way this island looks today will look pretty much that way in the future. I will hope to encourage and work to create transparent decision-making processes, the actions required to address them, and likely impacts before we take action, so we can prevent public confusion and misunderstanding. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie O'Day. I think a lot of you have been to these forums before, so you may be hearing a little bit repeated conversation between all of us. But I appreciate you being here, and I thank so much the League of Women Voters for putting this on. The most important thing in politics today, I think, is for you to be informed. You need to be informed about all of the issues and where the candidates stand on the different issues. Because hearing a little tick-tock here or tick-tock there is not going to do it, and it's not going to serve the public interest. I have been living full-time on San Juan Island with my family since 1991. That is 33 years. My husband Pat and I bought property here in 1980, and 10 years later we gave up and moved up from the city because it was too great up here. And then I started a land use and real estate practice. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer since 1985. Prior to that, I was in the advertising business and the radio business, and I've met a lot of people over my career and dealt with a lot of different kinds of people, not only in the advertising business but also in the law business. In the law business here on the island, I have had the opportunity to represent people rich and people poor, people trying to get permits and people trying to find their way through the quagmire of regulations that we find ourselves in today. I almost brought my notebook of regulations, which is an 8.5 by 11 notebook that's 4 inches thick. That's how many regulations we now have absorbed into the county. And it's very, very difficult for anybody to operate within the county because of all these layers of regulations. I know these regulations, and I believe that I have the opportunity as your county council person to help streamline these regulations so they are balanced and they are fair and they are understandable to the public and the environmental community, and we come out with decisions that are balanced in all of our favors. Civil discourse is really important in this election, And we've been experiencing a lack of civil discourse on the federal level, and I'm afraid to say on the local level as well. And that is a real shame. This is not a partisan election, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a blue versus red. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am in the middle. And that's what I strive to be, is in the middle. I'm not beholden to anyone, any particular groups, and I pledge to represent everyone's interests at the county council. The county council are the legislators of our county. They pass the laws and regulations, and they oversee the budget. Thank you.
Nobody likes to see the red stop sign pop up. You can see the stunned look in all of our faces when it happens. My name is Justin Paulsen. I live on Orcas Island. I have lived on Orcas for approximately 20 years. I believe it's been a little bit more. And how I came to these islands was working for Opal Community Land Trust over on Orcas. Came here with a traveling roadshow of construction workers, living in an RV. We managed to find somebody to rent who was brave enough to rent to us, and it allowed us to construct the offices and 7 apartment units for Opal Community Land Trust. In my time there, just up the hill lived a woman that I ran into, and now I've known her for about 20 years, and we are married, and that's my wife Amber. And she also has traveled a path from living in an Opal home to establishing the largest nonprofit child care center in San Juan County, which has recently expanded and now provides 2 full-time outdoor early childhood education facilities. And last week, we just recently completed the installation of employee housing on that property, opening up more housing for working families in San Juan County. Some of you may know me through my work with ferries. And a lot of people say, oh, you're that ferry guy. I am the chair of the San Juan County Ferry Advisory Committee. I was appointed by Rick. It is his fault that I am there. I'm also a commissioner for the Orcas Island Park and Recreation District. I've been doing that for the last decade. And my journey to service in San Juan County really started with meeting my wife and getting involved in their early childhood world, and then being involved with children, and then being involved with the Park and Rec District, and then moving into ferries and serving on, I believe, 4 or 5 different boards on Orcas over my time there. And what I've come to realize is that being involved in this community is what brings me satisfaction. And I would say the most important thing that we have in government really is people who can bring others together for conversation. Our national political scene is incredibly divided. It is really difficult to sit down with people that you don't agree with and work to find some consensus and work to find forward progress. And in my public service, that's what I have dedicated myself to. And in coming into the San Juan County Council, that is what I hope to do for our community, because as has been stated, we don't need division. We have a lot of really incredible opportunities right now to plan for the future of San Juan County. And if we can get everybody to the table and working together, we can make some really great improvements for the citizens of our county. Thank you.
Oh, can you turn off that mic? Sorry.
Yes.
Only one mic can be on at a time, so if you can hand it to Kari, we're going to go.
That is evidence of my technological ability.
So, sorry about that. The mics cannot be on at the same time, so we have to coordinate a little bit. So we're moving into the question and answer portion, and we're going to move down each time. A different person will begin. So the first question, you can hand the mic to Kari. She will be the first, and we'll go along the line and end with Rick. And the first question is, how has your sense of island priorities changed during this campaign, if at all?
I didn't turn it on. Here I am. Am I on? Yes. I'm not sure that my priorities have... Can't hear me? Is that what you're saying back there? Okay, thank you. I don't think that my sense of priorities has changed a lot through the campaign, but I will tell you that the priorities that I keep hearing have intensified. So my priorities walking in were the sense that we really had to work on affordable housing, and that's still a huge priority. That our decision-making processes in the county are somewhat broken when it comes to engagement. And the more I talk to people, the more people I talk to, they feel like their voices aren't heard, that a lot of the decisions that are being made, they're not looking to see what the impacts may be on that group of people or that individual or any impacts at all. So I think people feel that they're not included in this decision-making process. And the more I've talked to people, the more that has continued to be the case. I think there's a huge worry of balanced budget. And the more I talk to people, within the county and in the county, working for the county, there's a huge concern that we've just kind of slashed budgets, and it's a kind of a feeding frenzy at the budget trough. And so I know that's a huge concern. So that and the thing that I've learned the most is that this county, these people, really truly want to make sure that our environment is protected, that it is secured, and that we have a future for our children where they recognize the environment.
Everyone wants to protect the environment. Everyone wants to protect the environment. We have many, many regulations that protect the environment. What's become very apparent to me is the crisis that we have in housing, and we have the people who live here are not being protected. The people who live here are not given the opportunity to rise above poverty level. We're going to lose the missing middle if we don't do something about it. And that's going to mean expanding some guest house laws to find other places for people to live. So they're not living in sheds, they're not living in campgrounds, they're not living in somebody's basement. And you all know people who are. You all know people who have illegal guest houses, and you all know people who are not toeing the line and are not being able to act reasonably in this market. It's important that we cut housing costs in any way that we can, so that our kids and our grandkids won't leave. They have to stay here. We need them so much. We won't be a community if we lose the kids and the grandkids to the mainland. It's important to know that the administrator of the county, Jessica Hudson, the new administrator, is the primary person in charge of budgets. And yes, the county council does a final review of those budgets, but the budgets all come from the little fiefdoms that have been created with all the departments that have been created in the county that don't work together. So that needs to change. That needs to be modified. I happen to think that with the $141 million budget, there are places to cut costs. There are possibly duplicate jobs in different departments. There are a couple departments that could be combined to save money and use that money more for the people, more to create a child care ability for the people out there who need child care, more ability to create a housing opportunity for people. Thank you.
So I don't know that in my campaign also that I've seen a change in priorities, but I think what has become abundantly clear from having the conversations with everybody about priorities is just how absolutely interconnected every one of the concerns that we're talking about is. You cannot talk about ferries without talking about housing. You cannot talk with the sheriff about staffing without talking about housing. You can't talk with anybody about housing without talking about environment. And so that is, to me, become really illuminated how absolutely critical it is that we have to start getting everybody to the table. We cannot continue to work in silos trying to solve problems, because as one group solves a problem, we create another problem for another entity that's dependent on those resources. The other piece for my campaign, or that I've noticed through the campaign that I've found, is the groups that I'm talking with are absolutely willing to do that work. People want to be cooperative. People understand the interconnectedness because they're they're trying to figure out these problems. And what we have is in county staff and in our support agencies that are nonprofits, our NGOs in our communities, we have some of the most intelligent, well-qualified, overqualified people available to us. And as a county council, our job is to make sure that we are tapping absolutely every resource. We have so many volunteer resources in our community that want to help, that from a budget standpoint, we don't have to pay them. They're doing the work for us. And so we need to be collecting the data. We need to be using them for our science input so that we can start working on these problems together and holistically. So what I hear in the county right now is if we can increase our communication, if we can get our departments working together and allow them to work together, we actually have a shot at making some progress on a lot of these really critical issues.
Thank you. Is it going to beep again? Okay. You know, I too have gone through my whole campaign theme is listen, learn, and lead. And I feel like when I was in office in 2020, I thought I knew everything, and obviously I didn't because I lost the election pretty bad. And then sitting, as I mentioned, doing the pandemic shots, it made me really realize how important the service is for this community. And what I've actually learned over the last, since April, has been that there's just, people want the county to be stable. They want to know how long it's going to take to have a permit done. They want to know how hard is it to build affordable housing. They want to know, is the budget going to be there? If they're a county employee, you know, or is the 32-hour work week going to continue? If it's someone who's trying to close a house, can I get my house closed? And it's interesting, I've spent more time with more people, and one of the most interesting conversations I had was with a pro-Palestinian group of folks on Orcas. And, you know, I mean, I support what they're doing. I haven't liked some of the techniques, but boy, did I learn a lot, you know, and you know, I'm gonna try to, I've got a fundraiser I'm doing for Rick Larson next week, and I'm gonna try to push forward some of their ideas to try to make change, because we have to listen to everyone in this community. We have to stabilize and make the county boring again. You have to know what you're going to expect. Is there going to be a San Juan County deputy on Orcas now that there's only 1 or 2 that are there out of the 5 that are supposed to be there? You know, is our local partner in the fire department going to show up? Is there a paramedic on duty? Are we going to be able to get our health department to Waldron? We just have to be consistent, and people, they deserve to have a level of common sense reality from their government, and that's what I'm going to bring, you know, and it's, we have, so there's so many things, housing and budget, and actually Mylene did the budget, just, you know, for sake of thing. Just, I mean, she told me I did it, but it was really Mylene telling me to do it. But anyway, it's really about governing and giving this back to the people and listening. We need to do community conversations again to get what we're going to do as our budget constraints happen. What does the community really want? We have to listen, we have to care, and we have to deliver. Thank you.
Yes, it's on.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What do you think is the county's role in addressing climate impacts, and what climate action would you support in the coming 4 years? Stephanie.
Well, I think we need to work with the state and local authorities and the federal government to come up with some viable solutions to climate change. I think we need to have a emergency response plan in place for everybody, which was recently a question that didn't get answered by a lot of people. I think that we need to plan, and the regulators are planning a whole chapter in our new code that is going to address climate change. And I'm sure there will be additional regulations in that 4-inch book for climate change. It's an important discussion. It's, I learned a lot about climate change, or our particular climate change, a few years ago. Do you know that we're on a tectonic plate, and actually the San Juans are rising a little bit? So we're not as in dire straits as the people say in ocean shores. But it's still important to address these issues and to be spot on when we regulate. Thank you.
This is a timely question if anybody's watched the news in the last week. If anybody has seen what has happened in North Carolina or last night in Florida. But the idea that we are facing changes in our environment that are literally wiping cities off the face of the earth is a little concerning to me. Orcas Island in 2021, we had we separated from what we call Eastern Orcas by having the road wash out. And I think the folks on Eastern Orcas may have liked that option. But in reality, what it did was it exposed our infrastructure vulnerabilities. And as we start looking and planning forward, we need to start thinking about, okay, as we locate utilities, as we're doing culvert work, as we're planning our roads, if we don't start thinking about that in our forward-thinking planning, then we're going to see more and more and more of that. And we're seeing it happen on Lopez right now. There's an entire neighborhood in Lopez that's physically going to need to be relocated. The roads need to be moved. We're going to see septic systems failing into the Salish Sea. And that has to be, we have to deal with that, and we need to start planning ahead. So those are forward-thinking conversations. Everybody here is from San Juan. There's a huge discussion about renewable energy that we have to have. Where do we want it? Where is it acceptable? We can just propose projects, and then we end up in court fighting with each other for 5 years and actually don't make any functional change. Or we can put a year or so's worth of work into preemptively planning things and starting to figure out where is it appropriate to do this work to help satisfy our needs for some sustainable energy projects. Opalco has an application right now. You may have noticed it in the paper. They're taking comment on tidal generation. We need to be having those conversations ahead of time, and that is what the county council needs to make those conversations a priority.
Thank you. I think this is the climate change and our sustainability and sea level rise are probably one of the most important things we need to deal with and consider in the future. I consider San Juan County is sort of the yellow canary in the mining shaft kind of analogy, that nothing that goes on in the mainland can be done the same here. So we all have to work 10 times as hard to do the same thing. And if we can't figure out water availability, if we don't have any tributaries in this island, we have surface water and groundwater and well-based water to do. If we run out of water here, what is the state going to do? So we need to start tackling all of these resource questions. The same thing with renewable energy. I think at one point in time before the Orca Center beat me, I had the 4th biggest solar array in San Juan County on our Ray's Pharmacy building at my house and another building. I believe in renewable energy. I have a slightly different tack where I think we should hit everything that's built ground first, landfills, buildings, and then look for areas around the county that we can do. We can't all stick all the big mass solar in Decatur, as much as Decatur would like that. One of the things we need to do in the comprehensive plan update is we need to identify and get every party together and talk about this. What are renewable energy zones that we can accept, right? So we don't have to go through this process. Even though a conditional use permit is a yes, let's get outright yeses for where we want to put, and we all identify it as a community so we can do it. I think it's really important to take over and control our own power, at least part of it. Local food sovereignty, the same thing. The land bank's done a really great job on Orcas with the Lwv Farms. They're producing amazing amounts of food. It's all local. It's amazing. It tastes amazing. We should have a food sovereignty goal of somewhere or other on average, at least in the summertime, we produce 20% of our own food. That is a bit of a stretch, but that's the kind of stuff that we have to look at. And I agree, San Juan County has to be super bold. Back to the canary analysis. San Juan County needs to take a step on what do we do with public roads and what is our responsibility as a county with sea level rise. So the issues that Justin was talking about on Lopez, on Agate Beach, do we continue to spend millions of dollars to protect it and then take it apart and never mind? I hate red stuff. It's bad. Red stuff's bad.
Shame.
It's not your fault.
Nice job, Ronald.
Well, I might not take the whole 2 minutes because I couldn't agree more with Justin and with Rick and their whole assessment of climate action. Our comp plan has to address all of the changes that the state has already mandated for us to think about climate. It's going to change how we operate as a county, and I think it's really important that we remember that. Yes, there's sea level rise. We have less than 7% of our water that comes is all through precipitation. We're having more and more wells drying up. We have, some hair in my lip. We have wells drying up. We have saltwater intrusion. We have sea level rise. Exactly what these gentlemen have already spoken about. We have to plan for it. If we don't plan for it, the environment will take care of us. We have to take care of our environment. So it's really important that we talk about where we're siting renewable energy places. I'm all for tidal. I'm all for expanding our take on how we get our renewable energy. Bonneville's going to come up in 4 years for renewal. Every entity in the state has to take have renewable energy. If that's the case, why would we think that Bonneville's going to give us any kind of a great deal anymore like we've had for all these years? We always will need that. We will always need it, but we have to try to get some kind of resiliency in the face of catastrophic action. So that means a lot more different forms of renewable energy.
Justin, I think, right?
Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, where do you stand on the land bank renewal?
We're good? Okay.
This is a pretty simple question, and anybody who saw we were asked questions about stuff in the paper the other day, emphatically yes. I'm in favor of the renewal of the land bank, and in my statement in the paper I used 2 words, emphatically yes. But to expand on that, the land bank offers us opportunities to do a lot of things, and I think it goes back to this climate change. Resource preservation. The land bank is a critical piece of resource preservation, and I look at what was done here on San Juan around Trout Lake, and the land bank was able to purchase up property surrounding the lake, and that's a buffer to protecting the water of Friday Harbor. So that's an incredibly great use of the land bank. The land bank is also now doing great work from the agriculture side. So as we talk about food sovereignty, the land bank emphasizing agricultural work on the land that they're purchasing and developing is fantastic. I happen to be almost a neighbor of the Caulfield Preserve of Lwv Forum, and as beautiful as that preserve is and the farming work that's happening there is fantastic, the resource of the farmer should not go unnoticed. The people that are doing that work, Amy and Eric Lum, they have single-handedly helped me raise food for my family and raise food for my community. And so because of them, having them as neighbors, having their resource, their minds available to us, has allowed us to confidently raise animals and food for our community. And so through the land bank, we're able to foster all of those things. We're able to bring those resources to our community and keep them here. Because nobody's buying raw land on any of these islands and starting a farm unless they're coming here with a lot of money. So the land bank is going to be a really great tool for helping us do that locally.
I am also a heck yes for this. There's no reason I wouldn't support the land bank. My wife and I have property that's all around the land bank. They touch us on 3 sides, I think. I don't understand why more people aren't jumping for joy that San Juan County's got the only land bank in the state. It's the coolest thing ever, and because of that we also get the affordable housing rate, which is another amazing, brilliant thing that the state allowed us to do and let us create our own laws for our community. Yeah, the Lums are great people. The barn that the kids paint, Eric Lum built that for me. He's had animals on my property for 20 years. The land bank needs to do more of what they've done at Caulfield Farms with the stewards. They need to, in my opinion, they need to provide more agricultural land and operational funding to put up fencing and to put utilities in to help the farmers. The biggest problem in starting a farm here outside of the workforce is to have the ability to pay for fencing and water and power that you need for that farm to work. So I think we should look at the agricultural portion of the land banks initiative to see what we can do to help local farmers.
All right, 3 in a row. Unequivocally, absolutely, heck yes for the land bank. We just previously were talking about climate. Less than 7% of our rain goes into our land, which is where we get our water. And when we have more development and less natural resilient lands, guess what? That water doesn't get into our aquifers. So it's critically important that we preserve as much of that land as we possibly can so that it protects our water sources. The farming is great. They're doing it on, I'm not sure how much they're doing on San Juan through the land bank, but there's talks about it. But I know on Lopez and I know on Orcas, and farming is huge. Again, we're never going to be totally resilient, 100%. But the more food we grow here, the better our lands are, the better our water is, and the healthier we are, and the more ability we have to protect ourselves in the future. So I also think it's critically important that generations in the future have some beautiful places to hike, to see, to be a part of nature. Because if you're living in East Sound or in the Village or in Friday Harbor, you have to go someplace to see all the wonderful things that are part of our natural environment. And I hope that future generations will have more and more and more places where they can hike, they can be a part of nature, and they can remember why their great-grandparents moved here.
So is it going to be an even 4? I have a qualified answer. I support the land bank, but I would like to see some of the mission statement amended with the land bank to ease the mission statement just a bit. Now let me tell you what I'm talking about. This has been done, it was done a couple of years ago when the land bank went ahead and bought that property on Argyle Avenue here in town, and then they sold it to the county proper from San Juan County Land Bank. Used the funds from the land bank to buy the Argyle property, and then sold it to the county, and the county leased it to the home trust for $1 a year. That's creative thinking. That's thinking outside of the box. And that in and of itself does not comply directly with the direct mission that is in the RCW authorizing the land bank. So yes, I believe in the land bank. I certainly love the properties. I love to go hiking. I think that the land bank could think outside of the box, such as maybe we put the bike trails on some land bank property. Maybe that's where people go instead of going through farmers' yards in down Baylor Hill or down in the valley. I actually had an hour-and-a-half walk with Lincoln Borman this week, a couple days ago, and we were looking at some property that possibly could be bought by a combination of the Parks Department and the Land Use Department, and the Land Bank, in order to also possibly relocate CT. Relocate CT, that would take about an acre of the 110 acres. Well, is that reimagining the mission of the land bank? I think it's creative thinking, and I'd like to see that us go in that direction. Also, I would not be opposed to a greater affordable housing tax and a little bit less of a land bank tax. We need to continue having these lands for ourselves and our children, but we need affordable housing as well.
We're going back to Rick.
It's off.
Okay. The next question is about, this is a broad question because I got some specific questions and I'm going to pull it together into one. What challenges do you see facing the county budget?
Oh, that's just one question?
Whoops, sorry.
Are you off?
I'm off.
Okay.
Well, the San Juan County budget's definitely an interesting proposal going forward. I think Marlene and I worked together with the other council members and Mr. Watson, wherever he is here, to pull together the biennial budget, 2-year budget plan, which we thought would be better use for long-term planning. You have to look at the budget a little bit differently. So there's many parts to it. There's a big chunk of it that's fixed, meaning you can't spend it on anything. The general fund is what we're the most worried about. Like the land bank fund is pretty big, and there's a lodging tax fund and the affordable housing fund. But what the general fund is what we use to pay salaries, and that's what we really have to focus on for that question, is what does the community want? Where do we go from here going forward, and how do we pay for it? And I think part of it, we have to work with fair labor practices. We need to really work with our unions closely to have good contracts, and we need to be able to have a really good budget plan to provide all the services that the community expects. So, it's really good. I have done budgeting for 8 years. I can go, one of my few superpowers, I can look at a lawnmower and watch it break. and I don't even know how to use a chainsaw very well, but I can look at a complicated budget and make it work. And I've done it for ESPN, I've done it for the Opportunity Council and with San Juan County. And there's just ways. We just have to figure out what's important. And again, half of our budget is something that's fixed, that's there, that's pretty healthy. We just need to figure out how to provide the services that the community wants. When I was in office, we held the line in our budgets every single year. We had a AA- bond rating. I think we refinanced the land bank a couple times in order to get better rates for them. And we brought our loan debt ratio down to $9 million, which is unheard of for a county government. So I know how to run a government. I know how to run a budget. It's one of the strongest things I can do. And I used to, Mylene probably made fun of me about this. They called it sales math because I was in sales for a long time, that I'd look at a budget and kind of wing something up and Mylene would just shake her head. And you know, most of the time it was right. So I just think it needs to have an open process, and we need to work together to come good solutions that will serve the community the best way possible.
So I think in this county there's a lot of misconceptions about how large governmental budgets work. Rick, talked a little bit about different kinds of budgets and the money. We have a number of our departments that are grant funded, and grant funded can only be worked on the things that the grant is allowing. So it doesn't give you the ability to take money out of that grant and move it to the general fund. We used to call it in education the color of money. You can only do purple money with purple projects. But the good news about grants is that they almost always have an administrative fee, and that is able to help feed the general fund, because the grant maker says to the county, all right, you've got this grant, but we know it's going to cost you some money and personnel and lights, and we're going to take some money off the top of that grant to help do that. So grants are a wonderful thing. But the biggest issue about budgets in this county is it can't be a feeding frenzy. The population needs to know exactly what the mandates are that the county has to spend money on. I don't think we're clear. I don't think people understand what the mandates are and what has to happen. We are coming up to a budget cliff. And the only way for that is to have a lot more engagement with the population, a lot more engagement having people understand what the must-haves, so we can look at what the want-tos are and base it on our values. Form follows function, budgets should follow function as well.
So we have it's a $290 million biennial budget. It's very, very large. And yes, a lot of that is grant money, but a lot of it is general fund. And I think that the previous county manager perhaps wasn't paying quite enough attention in the last few years and let a lot of these little departments create their own little fiefdoms. Sorry if you're in one of those departments. But I think we could be much better run and use the money much more wisely. The 32-hour work week was an attempt to negotiate with the unions. It was a negotiation with the unions, and it came down pretty fast and pretty hard to the amazement of the community. That is not using money wisely. I would rather see money saved in other departments, such as sorry Kendra if you're here, a 15-person environmental stewardship department. I think some of those people can be combined and save some money that way. But we need to pay our workers a fair wage to keep them here, and we can't be frivolously spending money on things we don't need to spend money on. I am not a proponent of more levies. Every time something goes wrong, they ask the people to pay more money for levies, and the property taxes for people who do have property here have gone crazy, and we're going to lose them. We're going to lose the missing middle if we don't do something about it. So I am a proponent of tighter budgets and a better review of the budgets on a yearly basis, on a monthly basis.
So yeah, Rick talked about getting together the community and find out what the community wants. And I think the first step is actually to sit down with all of our county staff and say, what is it we have to be doing? The word mandate was mentioned. We have mandates as government that we have to meet. And that's our first step. We have to identify what the mandates are, and we have to assign how much we have to spend to accomplish those goals. And then we have a community conversation about, here's all the services we have. And can we afford to deliver all of these current services that we have? And I think what we're looking at with our budget right now is a really thorough analysis of what services can we afford to provide. Take all the grant funds and all that, we can think about that in a different way. But you have to look at two things when you're looking at services. What is the impact? So what is the bang for the buck for delivering that service? And then what is the cost? And you're looking for high impact and low cost. I mean, that's your sweet spot. If you can find a program that has a high impact for your community, provides great service, and you can do it at a low cost, that's an easy one, that's a yes, we move on. It's when we start getting down the list and we've got 10 things, 10 services that we want to provide our citizens with, and the bottom line is getting down to zero. And that's where the conversations are going to get really, really difficult. But we have to do this going into this next budget cycle, and it's going to require a lot of reprioritization of how we're operating as a county, because we can't continue to do it unless we're going to opt to raise taxes. And right now, that is not what anybody wants to do. I've been serving as a junior tax district commissioner for 10 years, and I can tell you, our budget is fully funded. If we don't pass our levy, we don't exist anymore. So we're very cautious in looking at how we set our budgets, because we have to justify our existence to the community with the services that we provide.
I've lost track.
Let the old guy help.
Okay. The next question is about a topic that we've already heard a lot about, but we'll let people speak specifically to it because it's obviously one of the hottest topics. So please tell us your specific ideas about what to do about affordable housing in the county.
Housing for, we haven't turned off yet. Housing for everybody. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if housing was seen as a right? That everybody had in our community, on all of our islands, the ability to be in a home that was their home, whether they rented it or whether they owned it. And my other colleagues here, they've all talked about we're losing the middle. And one of the reasons we built affordable housing the way we're doing it on Shaw, it's actually less about affordability, it's more about any availability, which is where we are on many of our islands today. And we did that through public-private partnerships. That hasn't been done a lot yet, but there's talks and conversations going on in Oryx Land Trust, there's talks and conversations going on in Lopez Land Trust. We need to expand the way we think about how we do affordable housing. Because the middle class, those middle income earners make $1,000 too much a month to qualify to be able to be in affordable housing and $1 million away from being able to buy something. So we have to rethink how we do this. We have to have a multi-pronged approach. We have to look at making permitting for affordable housing streamlined and easy. Package deals of ADUs or other affordable housing. Take a look at the Shaw housing. It's already been approved for its building. It would be something somebody else could build and do for themselves. So we have to look across a lot of different ways. We have to work with our governmental agencies. We have to work with the land trust. We have to think outside the box clearly in ways that we haven't quite done yet, and keep those ideas coming.
So it's nice that Kari got affordable housing for 2 teachers on Shaw Island District land with $1 million contribution from a private party. That's great. But that's not solving our problem. Our problem is that our kids and our grandkids and people don't have any place to live, and the workers and the staffers don't have any place to live. My idea is, I've actually built tiny houses. I have a 5-unit tiny house enclave in town of Friday Harbor. I brought in park model homes. They look just like cottages. They're 15 feet wide, 400 square feet, and I rent them out affordably, and I always will. And I'm proud of that. I think modular homes are going to be something of the future, manufactured homes and tiny houses. I think that we need to loosen the guest house laws so that you don't need 5 acres and 100 feet from your house to build a guest house. I think we can encourage more people to build small little houses, even modular houses, on their 4-acre pieces or 4.5-acre pieces. And that would allow a middle-class family, a middle-income family to be able to afford to put a little guest house on their property, get rent from that guest house, and provide a place for somebody else to live. There's people who need places for their mothers-in-law, people who need places on their land for their kids, and it's just not happening. Permitting is never going to be easy under today's regulations for guest houses. You cannot just say, yes, we got to make it easy, because of all the environmental regulations that you have to go through and all the expert reports that have to be dealt with before you ever can put a shovel in the ground. So I am all for interesting, good ideas. I've mentioned once before about the land bank. Don't cringe. I don't want the land bank covered with houses, but what if 1 acre of the 110 acres that they bought was used for, say, another Oaks or another area that was affordable for the people? That's the kind of thinking we need.
We could do a whole forum on affordable housing. We could all be here for about 6 hours. As I said, I came to this county to do affordable housing work with Opal Community Land Trust. Working with that organization, it is probably the highest functioning organization that I've ever worked with in my life. And I take a lot of what I have gained in knowledge over the last 20 years from that organization. Working with them, I have hands-on been involved in over 70 affordable housing projects, be it apartment units, built 30 homes on an affordable housing neighborhood on Orcas. And I did that through the mortgage crisis of 2007 to 2009. And working with Opal, we got together at the table and said, we got to partner on this. The only way we're going to get this done is if we all work together. And so basically, Opal made a commitment to employing over 50 local craftsmen. I made a commitment to run the job, and we were able to produce over 30 homes out of that project for local families. So I have a deep level of experience and understanding of what it takes to get the work done. That said, Opal's not the end-all be-all. Our land trusts are not the end-all be-all. We have to be even more, we have to dig even deeper into the code. We need to look at density bonusing in our UGAs. Right now you can put a 3,000 square foot house on a piece of property and it counts as a unit. You can put a 200 square foot house on that same property, it counts as a unit. Those are different, that's a different type of building and it's a different cost factor. If you can put 4 studio or single bedroom units and increase the density, and we can bonus that density, we can lower the cost of building and we can incentivize getting more units available. Because not everybody needs a 3 to 4 bedroom house. We have a lot of seniors aging in place. They want a 1 bedroom or a studio place to live so that they can continue to live in this place. Because if we don't do that, we're going to lose them. And we're going to lose the history that they have with our county. And that's a connection we have to maintain. Same thing goes for our kids.
Quick question. It's things that we should do or ideas that we have, correct? Is that the kind of question?
Yeah, what sort of specific things that you would do?
Got it. So affordable housing is like the onion. You peel back 1 layer and you get 6 more. I'd like to go backwards a little bit because I think I'm the only person that's up here that's been in government that's actually done. Maybe Kari's working on the housing, so that for a shot. But and Stephanie, thank you for your comment regarding the Argyle lots because that was all my idea. That was a project I worked from the beginning to the end. Worked with Lincoln and the land bank. The county paid for it. There was a whole purpose for that, so that was great. I also was the vice president of the Opportunity Council, which is a poverty elevation group, and we purchased under my direction, at least working with them, we purchased one of the apartments here in Friday Harbor that was about to go out of its permanently affordability. There's a 20-year federal housing loan, and when that comes up, there's 3 other ones that are faced with that coming up soon. The county also took a piece of land on Lopez, and we gave it to not the traditional land trust there, but another entity that came forward and I think they built 6 or 7 great little houses there. So that's kind of what I've done in the past, which gives me some experience moving forward on the government side. Oh, and also I helped write the affordable housing REIT when it came forward for passing. That's attached to the land bank. And then we allocated $3 to $4 million to Opal out of various funds in the county, including the real estate excise tax fund, to build April's Grove, which is a current, I think it's a 46-unit complex on Orcas that was built. Going forward, I'm very interested. Our housing group, which is an amazing group of volunteers, and Justin talked about how much great folks we have here. They passed a bunch of things in our comprehensive plan that we haven't even touched yet. So that'll be one of my priorities, is to follow through with what's already in the comp plan to get it completed. I also would like to see tiny homes. I'd like to see more money from the REIT go to first-time home buyers, which means it allows someone who's going out to buy a home gets assistance in the down payment for that. I'd like to have that expand to land, because someone could have a tiny home and not have the money, make too much money to get an OPAL loan, but make not enough money to get a loan, and banks don't lend on empty land if there's not housing there. So I think we have to look at farm worker housing as well, densification as was mentioned. And then I'd like to see us, the RV parks are good.
Okay, another question that is a hot topic, and then I got a couple of questions on. They would ask the candidates speak to the delicate and complex topic of tourism. What is your attitude towards tourism in the county? I know. Okay.
Turn yours off. We have to have tourism. There's a lot of people who are completely anti-tourism, but we have to have tourism. It drives the economy right along with the construction industry. Many of us would not be here had there been no tourism many, many years ago. I came here on a boat in 1980 and ended up buying here, and I'll bet you some of you did as well. Came up as a kid or came up as a young adult or with your family. It's a wonderful place to live. We talked to the tourism board today, and I have a marketing background. I have an advertising background. I very much know the importance of advertising. I think we should be advertising more for tourism to come in the off seasons, and I think there should be more retreats, more big companies talk to about bringing up smaller groups during the off season to fill our restaurants and fill our hotels and our places for people to live. I do not think there should be more vacation rentals. We've got plenty of those, but tourism is a requirement. Whenever I see an advertisement, even now today on the television, I think about what's the target market, because that's what's drilled into you when you get a marketing degree or an advertising degree. Are we reaching the teenagers? Is this for 25 to 54, 25 to 39? It's all important, and if you look at any ads that are on TV, you can pretty much tell who their target market is. The kids who are watching the cartoons, what they're, who's advertising to them, who's advertising to the older people who need diapers or some horrible thing. But it's all in target marketing, and I think that our department that's in charge of tourism is doing a good job, but they could do a little better.
So yes, we just met with the Visitors Bureau. All four of us met with the Visitors Bureau today. Their membership interviewed us all and asked our question on tourism. And the one number that I can remember from that discussion is this year tourism in San Juan County is down 19%. And that's a big number, considering tourism brings in, last year they brought in $299 million into our county. So take 20% off that didn't come in this year. And the reason for that we can speculate about, but I think we came to a consensus in our meeting that it was really ferries. The lack of reliability, the inability to get here, and the inability to travel, people were fearful. And most of our tourism come from Washington and Oregon, and people hear the news and they say we're just not going. Because in other counties, tourism is up 10 to 12%. So we have an issue there. That is one of those interconnections that I talked about. If we're going to talk about tourism, we got to talk about ferries. Ultimately, people who come here as tourists, are here for the beauty of our islands. Our natural resources are what brings people here. And so our focus on tourism needs to highlight the importance of our natural resources. And I believe that the Visitors Bureau acknowledges that. And tomorrow, there's a farm tour on Lopez, and it is sponsored by the Visitors Bureau. It also happens to be sponsored by the Egg Guild, and it also happens to be sponsored by the Conservation District. And so here's a beautiful interaction of organizations which are working for conservation and promoting agriculture within our community, and guess what? Also a little bit of tourism. And I was at that event here 2 weeks ago, and the interesting part was most of the folks participating in that tourism were locals. They were people from San Juan County getting together. And back to ferries. If we get the ferries running so that we can all be interconnected, we can be part of our tourism solution.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I never quite understood about people so afraid of the expansion of tourism is ferries, as Justin mentioned. I mean, it's a regulator that's already showing itself here. I think Whidbey Island has seen a significant increase in home sales and tourism because people have decided to come to Whidbey instead of San Juan County. As I mentioned before, my wife and I operate Ray's Pharmacy, one of 3 pharmacies in the county, and the only one in Orcas, as well as Island Life, which is kind of like King's Market outdoor shop. We wouldn't be open 300 and however many days, close 3 days a year, and employ 25 employees that we pay all over $20 an hour and all of their insurance, and have all the products that people want as pharmacy markets are going down if it wasn't for the tourists that come shop in our store. We started this outdoor shop thinking it was going to be for locals, and didn't really realize that most locals can't afford a $400 jacket, right? So now we've become the I forgot that bag for people going to Moran State Park. So, I mean, I support tourism. I think we have to have sustainability in it. When I was in office, I'm a Knowles grad, at National Outdoor Leadership School in Knowles, with the Forest Service invented what's called Leave No Trace. And when I was in office, I brought this forward to have San Juan County be the first Leave No Trace county in the country. And basically, it's like you want to leave the place you visit better than it was when you got there. And I think our Visitors Bureau has done a really great job in their sustainable tourism effort, and they don't get a lot of credit for that. So I fully support it. I mean, I would love to see our reliance on tourism decline significantly. I think we need to figure out ways to grow our working families here to get that year-round economy. That's really important for our community, but we can't abandon tourism. It's just part of what we do. We all were tourists somewhere at some place, even coming here. So I just think it's an interesting question. I think we can't look at tourists as bad, but we need to figure out how to export the San Juans to other people and figure out how to bring a middle class back here that's going to be, this needs to be a blue collar destination, and it needs to be a place that people can live and support their families here.
The problem with going last is everybody's already said almost everything 300 million, 19% drop. But tourism in San Juan County is a symbiotic relationship. It is the largest economic driver, and it drives all sorts of other economic drivers. So when you hear 19% drop, that's something we should all be concerned about. And in my conversation this afternoon with the Visitors Bureau, we talked a lot about what Rick called Leave No Trace, but the eco-friendliness of what kinds of tourism we want. There was a report out recent, I don't know if it was recent, I just read it, about Audubon Society are the best tourists. Do you know why? Because they walk out of your towns into the forest. They don't talk to anybody because they're quietly looking through binoculars trying to find birds. They come back into your towns and they spend money in hotels, B&Bs, and they buy groceries and all the other kinds of touristy things. So we need to look more at that. And what does that mean? It means we have to think about how are we going to get people from East Sound out to Moran State Park, from Friday Harbor out to all the different places that they can, Katy Reserve. How can we get them out? So we have to rethink some of our transportation, I think, to help with that, so we can have a less dependent and a smaller carbon footprint. So yes, tourism is going to always be an integral part of our community. I have no idea whose turn it is.
I think it's Stephanie. Oh, no, I
Okay,
okay, yes, it's me.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, we're bumping up against our hour of questions, so this is going to be the last question, and it's one that should be relatively short. And once we finish that, then we will do the closing statements. And Stephanie, you'll be the first for the closing statements. And the final question, short and easy, is: will you keep your current career if you're elected to the council? Will you keep your current career if you're elected to the council?
So yes, I own a construction company. I've been in the business since the year 2000. My business has been very small. My business has gotten much larger, doing bigger projects, and my business is now very small. I currently employ 4 employees, and I'm proud to say that my lead employee's been with me for 18 years. My second employee's been with me for 17 years. I believe after that it goes to 7 and 5. And before I started this run, this crazy idea of running for county council, I sat down with my employees and I said, all right guys, I'm gonna do this. What do you want to happen? And what they all said is, we wanna keep working. And I said, all right, it's gonna be yours to run. So my name will still be on the business, but they will be running the business. They have enough work to keep them going through this entire 4-year term. So without going out for more jobs, I don't need to be looking for work for them, and quite frankly, they will generate the work themselves, and they will benefit from that work. It won't. The process of becoming employee-owned with a 5-person operation is kind of crazy, but they will benefit from the work that they do, and they will decide how much money they want to make, and I hope they want to make a ton of money for themselves. So yes, I will maintain the business, but they will be doing the work. And I will say, today I was over here all day, and I never once heard from any of them, and they got a lot of work done. So I consider that a beautiful thing, and as I look at leadership generally, that's what you want as a leader. You want to hire people smarter than you, you want to have people working for you who work harder than you, and you want to empower them to do whatever it is that they want to get done. And if you can do that, you win.
Thank you. I think I have 8 years of experience showing how I'll work hard for San Juan County. I'll work 50, 60 hours a week. Any entrepreneur or small business owner is never going to completely not be involved in their business, but like I said, we have 25 employees, and we've hired, I think, some of the best people on Orcus to run our businesses, and my wife's an amazing manager, and we have amazing managers in all of our systems. So our business will continue to run as it has, and service will probably go up if I'm not involved, even at the level I'm at right now. So no, I pledge this will be my thing. This will be my son's in college. I have a ton of energy. I've got a lot of experience in Olympia and in our community, and I want to get to work. And my business, I'll still probably spend a couple hours a day, but it'll be early in the morning or late at night, and it's just my brain how it works. But the county will get as much time or more than they want or need out of me. I pledge that.
I will quit being the superintendent of Shaw Island School District, so that's quite quick and easy and simple. The board and I have had a lot of conversations that if I'm elected, we've identified a path and a way to move forward. Unfortunately, we never had a $1 million person give us money, so they still have to fundraise, and they'll do that. And it'll be bittersweet, because I love Shaw Island, but they're prepared to move forward if I'm elected.
No. I will no longer be a practicing lawyer representing any clients in the community. I will spend all my time representing the county and representing all of you and all of the people out there. With the knowledge that I have the tools in order to be able to do that. So no, I've had a really long career, a very good career. I've made enough money. I'm not doing this for the money, by the way. And yes, I work 40, 50 hours a week, and always have and always will. But I will not be representing outside clients.
Okay, thank you. So that completes the question and answer portion of the evening, and now we will go into the closing statements. And Stephanie, you will be the first.
And how long do we have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes enough. You're good. Okay, I have the experience necessary to run this county. I have my fingers in all of the different departments. I work on a daily basis with almost all of the different departments. I know very well the regulations and the problems that are at DCD. I work with the health department, the public works department. I've been working with the land bank this week. I work with the assessor, auditor, treasurer. They all pick up my phone calls. I work with the town of Friday Harbor. I had a good conversation with Denise Kosa today, who, by the way, said she was trying to get solar up at the landfill up at Sutton Road. I can make things work, people. I am a problem solver, and I think outside of the box. We need somebody who can think outside of the box and not just have government the way that it's been, because we got a lot of problems. We got a lot of problems in budget, we got a lot of problems in regulations, and in money, and of course in housing. There's a lot of problems that need to be resolved, and yes, we have to work together. We have to bring, for example, the Friends of the San Juans together with us to talk about, yes, we need guest houses in the county, and not have firm no's on questions such as that. I am the most capable person to run this county. I have never been a public servant, and I didn't start out life ever wanting to be a public servant. I've always been in the private sector, and I've had businesses. I've had a land use business. I've done permitting, and I've of course been a lawyer representing an awful lot of people in the 33 years that I've been here. I've been in the courts, I've been in the hearing examiner rooms many, many times, and I've been around the block, ladies and gentlemen, so let me be your representative so that I can help fix these problems.
Thank you. So first, let me say, actually turn this thing on. First, let me say thank you to everybody for coming out. San Juan Island is a really critical place in this campaign for me, because this is the spot where the fewest people know me. And as I have that conversation with folks, we have conversations about, well, how might you know Justin? Well, you might know him from 4-H, from being at the fair, where I brought kids for 12 years and worked in the horse arena. But I was just the guy on the corner of the horse arena raking out the dirt. You might know me from having an energy audit at your house 15 years ago, when Opalco first started doing energy audits, and myself with 2 other contractors actually designed the Opalco energy audit program, which has sort of fueled the Switch It Up program, which is now actually putting energy efficient practices in your home. I was over on San Juan doing those 15 years ago. I was the guy who would show up and screw in the compact fluorescent light bulb to save you a couple bucks. You might know me from housing projects, where I actually have done some work on San Juan through Opalco, through the energy efficiency upgrades, helping to keep seniors in their home because they had leaks in their roof and it was damaging their insulation and they had black mold in their house. So we came over here using Opportunity Council funds, excuse me, to make those houses more habitable and keep that senior citizen in their home. I look at the upcoming 4 years and I use the word opportunity. We're going to have 2 new council people on council. We have 1 returning, we have 2 new council people. We have a new county manager. And we have a whole new concept of what a conversation about solving community problems can look like. So we have a lot of new energy that we can bring in here. And I look forward to being one of the folks sitting at that table, working with one of these 2 leaders and Councilperson Fuller to move San Juan County forward.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank the League and voters. I appreciate the efforts you guys do, not only in holding the forums, but also in the reporting that you offer on county council meetings and other local government entities. I wanted to thank the community for coming out. You missed the Seahawk game. Hopefully the Seahawks are winning. I'm not going to tell you the score. I don't want to ruin that. And I appreciate the support that I've gotten from San Juan County. I was in office for 8 years. I was the executive vice president for the Opportunity Council Board. I have worked the Northwest Regional Councils helping with seniors. I have old ideas and I have new ideas, and I've always been a person who's gotten along with other elected officials. I pledge and guarantee we'll have a great relationship with the town of Friday Harbor. We'll bring back confidence from the community as well as from our employees, and we'll treat everyone here in an open and transparent way. I get things done. I've built 2 bridges here in San Juan. We did the Taylor Road project, the direct flights to Canada. That was my concept from the beginning after we had that wonderful little thing about moving the CBP up to Gordy's building. That was an interesting thing if anyone was there. I've been around, I've run businesses here. I've worked with many people. I represent, I think, small business owners as well as local ag. Come to me with a problem, I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. We'll solve problems, and we got to look at government outside of what government is. We need to come back with fresh ideas. We need to be a customer service entity. And I don't think the county was that bad when I was in office in 2020. It's changed a lot since then, but we're going to bring back being boring. You'll trust us again. And we'll make this a county to be proud of. When I was chair 3 times, when I was chair during the pandemic, I think I mentioned this, we were the safest county, I think, in the country. We took some bold actions, and it's hard when you have a business and you're closing your neighbor down. But we'll fight the good fight. I'll fight the good fight to make this the best county. And I think we just need to be a customer service entity that you know what you're going to get from us, and that's just being boring. So thank you very much for your time. It's a real honor to be over here, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. As Rick said, there's a Rotary thing that people want to be at, and there's a football game that people want to see. So it doesn't go unnoticed that you came away from probably a much more comfortable living room to be out here today, this evening with us. And thanks to the League of Women Voters for always having a really strongly nonpartisan, fair forum. I really appreciate that. I have great hope about our ability to secure our county's future. But to do so, we can't go back to a past that simply no longer exists, and where our current problems, although many seemingly similar, are so differently nuanced. I have confidence that we can move forward to balance our budget based on our shared values and priorities, and that we take the time to determine what those shared values and priorities are. I have confidence based on my experience as a public servant, as a public administrator, that we can move forward to find new and collaborative means of growing our permanently affordable housing inventory for our low and middle income earners. I have confidence that we can move forward to ensure a balance of development and an absolute need to conserve, protect, and restore our natural environments. I have confidence that I can be part of a council that engages in transparent decision-making where we examine our problems, potential solutions, and likely impacts before acting. And I have great hope that you will join me in this vision of securing our island's future.
Okay, so I would like to thank all of the candidates for taking the time to inform the voters on their positions. I would also like to thank the audience for attending and for asking great questions. Thanks to Jeff and the participation of CNL2 San Juan Today for live streaming this and for making the recording available, as they will at the 2 forums coming up on Orcas and on Lopez. Thank you to Robbie for doing the timekeeping. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Barbara for her final remarks. And please remember to vote.
Thank you to Nisha for stepping in at the last minute to moderate this forum. Ballots will be mailed out on the 16th of October, so watch your mailboxes. If you know anyone that has just moved, make sure they update their voter registration. I believe there's a deadline for doing that online to maybe the 16th. At any rate, if you have any questions on registration, the county elections office is very helpful. They're open at 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So be sure and vote. Watch your mailboxes. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Back of it. Hey. All the time.
I do not want to be. Yeah, I just knowing what.
Other camera.